brother and CEO at Super Coffee. With me today, we have Alex Rodriguez, baseball legend turned businessman, Super Coffee investor, one of our mentors here for January, which is Mentor Month. So, Alex, thanks again for joining us.
Great to be here, Jimmy, and so proud to be an investor and to see your development even through COVID. You guys were relentless and had showed great resiliency, and I'm excited about our future.
We are too, man. Thank you. We had some good coaches along the way, and that's what I wanted to start out with. At Super Coffee, our core values are, we call it an acronym, and it's COACH, COACH. It stands for curious, optimistic, ambitious, compassionate, and humble. And today I want to focus on curious and humble, because the first time we met you was just over a year ago. We had an introduction, and the thing that stood out the most to me was your humility. You know, you were asking questions. Coffee is an industry that is pretty new to you, and you weren't afraid to say what you know, what you don't know. So growing up, I mean, obviously you didn't go to college, you didn't get your MBA. Has that curiosity and that humility played a role into you learning the industries and the games that you didn't always have the answers to?
Yeah, Jimmy, you know, I'm a big believer keeping things very simple, and less is more. And one of the things that I learned as a baseball player, what made me a great player and play for such a long time, was the ability to be a student and a teacher. But focusing on the student part, you know, you have to study, you have to know your numbers, you have to get to know people. And it's important to know what you know, but as you said, it's more important to know what you don't know. And surround yourself with people that are much smarter and that you have a vision and an alignment that is a win-win.
Love it. Yeah, man. And I think for us to hear the questions that you were asking were awesome. Like you really wanted to make this a partnership. You wanted to know this industry. One other thing that stood out to us when we first met was you always emphasized to us the value of relationships. Oh, there it is. Cheers. Cheers to that. The value of relationships, right? And without a college degree, you know, our brother Jordan, he dropped out of school to start Super Coffee. How have you leveraged relationships to get the education that you never really got otherwise?
Yeah, I think it's long-term, right? I think understanding what your circle of competence is, what your competitive advantages are, and to be able to have relationships where you're bringing even more so than you're taking. I think being a giver early on is so important. And I'm a big believer in the 10 touches. So 10 touches before you're allowed to ask any favors or any investments or any partnerships. And what this does is it practices discipline over time. And then it promotes a long-term relationship. I mean, I've had relationships with, you know, over 15 years before on year 16, then we do something together that leads into a partnership and so on and so forth. But I think a lot of the young folks out there that I'm seeing is they want immediate gratification. They want to be a partner day one, and it doesn't all come in the first or second inning. Sometimes it comes in the later innings. Right.
That's awesome. The 10 touches, really building a friendship with no other sort of hidden agendas there. That's fantastic. And I think, Alex, most of us know you as a baseball player first, and we'll get into your business career in a second. But coming up, like you said, you got to be a player and a coach. Who, whether it was a veteran in the league or a coach, while you were playing, who had the biggest impact on you as a mentor?
Well, I had some great ones. You know, I had a Hall of Fame manager in Joe Torre who taught me to think small and big things will happen. I had, the great Lou Piniella teach me that before you steal second base, you got to get on base. I had Warren Buffett teach me that, it's okay to pay a fair price for a great business. Don't focus on paying a great price for a fair business. To think about a company that you want to own forever. And when you do these things, it has a common theme. And that common theme is that is the process that wins over time. And to thinking small on the fundamentals. I always say that home runs fills up your bank account, but pitching, defense, and situational hitting wins championships.
Yeah, that is phenomenal. You mentioned Warren Buffett. I don't know if we can get into the details here, but back in 2007, you signed a monster deal with the New York Yankees, 10-year deal, nearly $300 million. Warren helped you negotiate that. What were some of the points he taught you there?
You know, a part of it is very high level alignment, but alignment is the number one thing he taught me, right? That while we were trying to get these home run incentives out there, they were built around if the Yankees did well, then I did well. It wasn't, I can do well or they can do well. Collectively, we had to be aligned and incentivized collectively. And what we tried to do in 3 weeks, he did in 3 minutes, and off we went, and we signed a contract.
That's awesome. That is, we love that story. Cool. So one thing that we admire about you, you got into business while you were playing baseball pretty early on, into real estate. And one of our investors, a friend of ours, is one of your mentors, Barry Sternlicht, a big real estate magnate. What has Barry taught you about real estate, both as a player and afterwards?
A lot of the same principles that Warren Buffett taught me. Barry's, in my mind, one of the top, 2 or 3 investors in the world when it comes to real estate. And we call him a 5-tool player, right? He just does it all really well. Not a lot of people can play the balance sheet game and also the operating game. And he does them both better than anybody. And he basically really sticking to your knitting, right? Whatever you're really, really good at, do it over and over and over again. And like he told me the other night when he was here at dinner, I've been doing this for 40 years, and every day I learn something. And that's what you find between the good and the great. The difference is that you have this incredible appetite for learning. You wake up every day and you're reading. The greatest in the business always tell you what they don't know, always tell you that they're hungry to learn and grow. And that's something that I aspire to be like.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that goes back to curiosity, asking questions, the ability to evolve. Like you said, COVID was a year that none of us have ever lived through. And the tactics that worked in 2019, they didn't work any longer in 2020. So we had to ask questions. I don't think we would have gotten a partnership done with you in 2020 if it was a normal year. We all had more time on our hands. We all were able to ask more questions. You were looking at more business opportunities. One thing that was pretty cool to us is how you and Jen have really teamed up in such a way of 1 + 1 = 3, right? Your brand sort of amplifies each other's. And how has she inspired you from a business perspective to think bigger, or what have you learned from Jen in your business ventures?
Oh man, so much. I mean, Jimmy, she's I think the world knows she's a force of nature. And the world knows that she's a triple threat between acting and singing and producing and being a businesswoman. But what they don't know is how hard she works. What they don't know is they just saw her in the inaugural and had this 3-minute performance. But what they didn't see was the 3 weeks leading into that. 7, 8, 9 hours a day, writing, rewriting, trying to inspire, trying to connect. What they see is the game day, the lights, the bright lights, the performance. But, Muhammad Ali says the champions are built is what you do when people are not looking, right? When the bright lights are not on. And I can say the same thing about Muhammad Ali. I can say about Jennifer. She's a global powerhouse.
Yeah. And I think what was cool about that too is she expressed the same humility to you, right? Despite her power, despite her influence, she still comes to you with questions, right? Because you have the amazing mentors in Warren Buffett. I'm sure she has her own mentors too. But what lessons have you tried to impart on Jen as she's venturing into this, out of sort of entertainment, more into business?
Yeah, I think we've come up playing different sports, right? Her game has been media and entertainment. Mine has been sports and business. And, I really understand really well what I'm doing. And these are I call it the 2 Bs, baseball and business. And her whole platform is around media and entertainment. And she's been a great coach and mentor to me. And I've been able to learn just by being a fly in the wall, how she does things and how she does so many things. And then on the business side for her, she's wanted to convert a licensing business to an ownership business. And she's done an extraordinary job the last 3 or 4 years of really owning everything that she does and doing less, but doing it with higher impact.
Awesome. And for the people who might not know, one of Jen's right-hand people is her manager, Benny. Benny's been there every step of the way, one of the greats in Hollywood. What have you, Benny's basically become your business partner. Is there any lessons that you've learned from Benny that you haven't learned from other mentors?
Well, Benny's a legend. It's amazing the things that he's accomplished. I think he's one of the most underrated, managers in the business, because even though he's considered the best, the things that he's done, when you think about his work with Mariah Carey and Prince and Michael Jackson and the mentors that he's had, he's really been a transformative, icon in Hollywood. And what Jennifer and him and Elaine Thomas have done as kind of the super trio, they've built an absolute multi-billion-dollar global empire. And it's hard to believe that just 3 people, along with Kevin Huvane, their agent at CAA, it's a Harvard Business School case study.
Yeah, it really is, and I think he's the man behind the scenes that has the humility to really support everything that some of his clients do. Cool, man. So, going to get into some questions from the audience here. Obviously, you've gotten a lot of great advice from coaches and mentors. What's some bad advice that you've gotten? Some advice that you didn't take?
Probably the advice I give myself sometimes. I think some of the things that, and I don't know if I classify this as bad advice from others, but just thought process that I see some people having is that, let's make more deals happen. Let's be transactional. Let's be short term. I believe at A-Rod Corp, I believe in the 90% rule. And that means that we leave 10% there for our counterpart. The reason why this is important is we want our business partners to be happy. We want them to have a win. We want them to have a good ROI. And we want to have this be the first of 10 or 12 deals that we do together. If you hammer things down so much in the first deal, then there won't be a deal number 2 or 3, and then there's no relationship.
Right. Interesting. So leaving 10% on the table. And that goes back to the 10 touches that you talked about earlier, really building a relationship with somebody before you ask them for things and before you do business together. Interesting. Okay. Can't let you off the hook without asking this one. What is your favorite super coffee flavor?
That's a good, I'm between, let's see. I like the bold and smooth black.
Okay. Yep.
I also like the coconut.
Oh yeah, plant-based.
Yeah. And
yeah,
one of the reasons why I love super coffees, I'm an avid coffee drinker. I mean, my teammates here at A-Rod Corp make fun of me because sometimes on busy days I have about 20 cups of coffee. That's bad.
Oh man, that's awesome.
All night writing emails.
That's it. 20 cups of coffee. You only need 5 bottles of super coffee to get you there. All right, man. Well, before we sign off here, if you were to hang a billboard anywhere where you want people to see it, you want to leave a message, what Alex Rodriguez wants the world to know, what does that billboard say, right? What's on that message? What do you want people to take away from your legacy, your life here, your career?
I think it would say a few things. I think that you will fall, as we all fallen, but you can stand up. And standing up is about being resilient. It's about waking up and putting one foot in front of the other. And if you haven't fallen, trust me, you will fall. We all do. And, the difference between good and great is those who can be resilient and have the grit and the courage to stand back up. And America is a great country. I mean, we just saw a president talk about uniting everybody and that the American dream is possible. And just me being that podium watching Jennifer, I mean, that was a miracle in itself. And dream big and execute small. The more
Sorry, we're back.
The more you execute the small things,
dream big,
the bigger dreams will come through.
I like that. The fundamentals, the boring basics, if you will. That's awesome, man. Well, Alex, we know you're a busy man. Thank you so much for joining us in January, Mentor Month. We're excited to continue to build this thing with you, brother.
I can't wait. Keep it going, and let's go. Let's have a great 2021.
Yes, sir. Have a good weekend, man. See you guys later. All right, team. That was awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. A few of you asked some questions about A-Rod's 10 touches. What he means by that is establishing a relationship, 10 different interactions with the same person before you ever ask them something. That could be 10 meetings, 10 phone calls, really building up a relationship before you expect anything in return. I thought that was a great piece of advice, for thinking relationally rather than transactionally. So thank you all for tuning in here. This was awesome. Big shout out to Alex Rodriguez and his fiance. Hopefully they get married this year, Jennifer Lopez. But thanks, guys. Have a good weekend, everybody. Be safe. Go thank your mentor. See ya.